Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Your Relationship With podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Snow. Isn't it crazy how time just flies by? Do I say that at the beginning of every episode? Every episode I record, I'm like, how is this possible that it is now 47 episodes in the future, or however many we've published? I can't even remember now. As of the recording of this podcast, Christmas is in 4 days, and you're going to be hearing this in February, I believe. So I have nothing relevant to say. However, I am super excited to share today's interview with you because it is all about your relationship with control, which I'm sure is something you and I know nothing about, right? No, control freak? What? I don't know any control freak. This is such a good episode because I really like to dive into let's not just talk about the problem and how great it would be to fix it, but let's talk about how we actually fix it. Let's talk about some things we can actually do right now to start shifting things in a different direction. And my guest, Kristen Needle, she's an online business manager, but she's so much more than that. Mindset expert for sure, and has a lot of really good insight about control in business and in life and how to take some baby steps towards letting go of that. So I'm really excited to share this episode with you. Let me introduce you to Kristen. Kristen Needle is an online business manager and performance coach with decades of experience managing projects, teams, and clients, stemming from her own background in marketing and operations. Her mission is to support heart-centered CEOs with creative solutions for operational efficiency while creating meaningful and impactful connections among clients, team, and community. She believes that building genuine connections and a growth mindset are the keys to success. So you can see why I was so in love with her when I found her on Instagram. And as you'll hear in this interview, I stalked her and then I was like, hi, please come on my podcast. I love you. And I know you guys are going to love her too. So without further ado, here is my interview with Kristen Needle. Hello, Kristen. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello. Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, super excited to talk to you today. I stalked you on Instagram. This is how we connected with each other. This is what I do. I just stalk people and then I message them. And then I'm surprised when I message Jennifer Lopez and I'm like, hi, do you want to be on my podcast? And she doesn't respond. And I'm like, how dare she?
Yeah, come on now, for real.
Yeah. I mean, every once in a while it works. Worked with you. So awesome. So excited to have you. So we're talking today about control and letting go of control in business, which is something I know nothing about. So this is going to be very confusing for me. We were just talking before I hit record about my issues, letting go of control, but I feel like this is such a good topic for people, regardless of where they're at in business. If they are in a place where they're ready to bring help on, or even just letting go of control when you're a one-man show is a whole other deal too. So before we dive into all of that, tell everybody a little bit about you and about your relationship with control.
Sure. So I am basically an OBM. So I jump in and I help support service-based women-owned businesses and basically become a right hand so that they don't have to do all the things in their business. And this is a scary thing, right? Because usually as a solopreneur or as you're bringing on a team, you have this, your business is your baby. You have this need to do all the things and want to do it a certain way. And it's letting go of that and kind of passing off the reins to somebody else to have that trust to say okay, yeah, we're both going toward the same goal. How can you help me get there? And for me personally, right, in my own business and in my day-to-day, there's always moments where you really have to turn inward and think about okay, how can I kind of go with the flow versus trying to control all the things. As a business owner, as a mom, I'm a single parent. I mean, that's controlling everything, right? That's what time are we waking up, going to bed? What are we eating? What are we wearing today? And it's just understanding that, life doesn't happen in a vacuum, right? You have to be able to adapt and change and really let yourself show up in the best way possible for yourself, for your business. Yeah.
Yeah. So for you personally, not necessarily in your personal life, but in your personal life or in your business, was it a difficult process for you to learn to let go of control? Like, do you consider yourself a recovering control freak?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, firstborn child, perfectionist, like, need to do all the things, people pleasing. Like, yeah, it was learning to kind of take a step back, recognize it in myself, and learn how to embrace my own imperfections, which is a very hard thing to do, right? You want to show up in the best way possible, but you can also show up authentically, and that makes you, relatable. And everybody's going through something, whether they show it or not, and we're not alone in that either. So definitely it's kind of it's a practice, it's a consistent practice.
Hmm. And what made you realize that control was a problem? I don't know if that's really the way I want to put it, but like, what made you realize that you needed, that it would benefit you to let go of some control?
Yeah, so I think for me personally, right, it's you start to realize that you are burning out,
Hmm.
where you're just like, okay, I am trying to do all the things, be all the things to everyone. And what that meant for myself was that I was run down, I was exhausted, I was probably cranky, like just you weren't showing up at your best. And I mean, I wasn't showing up at my best. It was like, okay, like I look at my calendar now and I'm intentional about trying to create white space. Like if somebody I'm working with shows me their calendar and their days are jam packed, I'm just like, girl, can I talk to you for a second? And like, how do we build in some white space for you? Because at some point, like you are headed toward burnout. Like
Yeah.
you're gonna feel it, whether you feel it in your body physically, whether it's how you're showing up with your family, your friends, your community, your business, your kids. Like it's just you need that space to kind of take the time for you to fill up your own cup, figure out what your non-negotiables are that help you show up as your best self.
Hmm. Absolutely. And I feel like that need to control or the desire to control can also create a lot of shame and
Mhm.
guilt. Like to your point about being a perfectionist, it's like we feel like in some ways it makes us feel better to feel like we're in control of everything, right? Because then it's like
Totally.
nothing can happen to me because I'm in control of everything. But I
Right.
also think it creates a lot of shame and doubt in yourself when it's like, okay, I was in control of all of this and this thing still happened. And that can be
Mhm.
really detrimental in the life and in business, I think.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And I think that's like really one of those, again, where it's a practice where you know that things are not going to be perfect. Nobody's perfect. And you start to release that shame because at the end of the day, all you can do is learn from it. Take whatever that was as a lesson. And what is your next best step? It's mindset, truly. Like all of it is mindset. It's just be a little vulnerable with yourself, look inward, it's okay. What is
Yeah.
my next step forward?
Yeah. It's really hard to give yourself grace without letting go of some of that control. And we're so good at that
Absolutely.
with other people.
Right? Yes,
I'll give all the grace
absolutely.
in the world to other people. I'm like, you did your best. It's okay.
Yeah. 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 And when we got to turn inward, it is the hardest thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, why do you think it's so hard, especially for women and for business owners? Why do you think it's so hard to let go of control?
Ooh, it's a great question. And you know what? I feel like in a lot of ways, don't you feel like it's like ingrained? Like it's shown to us that we need to be perfect and we need to be all the things to everyone. Like, you grow up with this vision of like what the perfect woman looks like, what she wears, what she does, how she can be the perfect homemaker, the perfect either employer or employee, perfect partner, mother, all the things, right? And the standard is just it's so high and it's like, okay, no, like that's
Hmm.
not that's not achievable, that's not real life. Like how can you show up in the ways that make you who you are, right? Like maybe you are a total, badass corporate woman, boss babe, like great, but that doesn't mean that you have to be the perfect parent to, or even want to be a parent, right? Like everybody has their own personal wants, needs, desires. Like it's just, yeah, I think some of it is societal. Some of it's ingrained, how you were raised, right? The
Hmm.
things that were said to you, the people you surround yourself with, even,
Hmm.
they're just there. I think there are so many different things that can impact us as women that make us want to kind of be perfect and be in control of all of the things based on what we're seeing, what we're being told. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think the idea that you brought up of the people that you surround yourself with is a very interesting point that I never thought about before, because I think when you're in spaces that are very competitive, it's much
Hmm.
harder to let go of control. I have
Yes.
found communities and networking spaces specifically for women that are a lot more focused on community and collaboration than they are
Yes.
competition. And it feels easier to let go of some of that control when you're in those spaces.
Yes. And I think that's everything. I think, women should be uplifting one another. Like, think about what you can do when you're actually supporting each other versus judging one another or putting somebody down. You know what I mean? It's just, you build each other up. It's not unlike, being a parent instead of sitting there and judging the other mom for running out of her house in sweatpants, because we're all going to have those days, right? Like, you know what? You're doing a great job. Like,
Yeah.
pass along the compliment. You know what I mean? Like, we're all out there trying to do our best. So, to your point, those communities where you're with other women in business that are just trying to look out for each other, like, think about how far we can go.
Hmm.
Like, hey, what do you need? I have the perfect person for you. Or I was talking to somebody in this event the other day that is a total rock star when it comes to this. Like, that's only going to lift you up. And then you can do the same for somebody else.
Yeah. Yep. You're
It's a lot
speaking
more
my
authentic.
language. Speaking my
Yeah.
language. I also think part of the pressure and the difficulty for me, at least, letting go of control. We were talking before we hit record about, I was saying, if I don't make a website or pay someone to make a website for me, no one else is going to, and when
Right.
you work for someone else, there's so
Yeah.
much that that person does to keep the company going that you don't even really know about or have to concern yourself with. But when
Mhm.
you are the business, when you're self employed, when you're an entrepreneur, even if you
Mhm.
have employees or you have maybe a partner in business, there's
Mhm.
still this, I feel like, constant pressure of like, if I'm not working on the business, no one is. And if I'm
Mhm.
not out trying to find clients and make money and do the things and promote and market and sell, no one else is doing it. And so that for me makes it feel harder to let go of control because I
Mhm.
feel like it's all on me. Can you relate
Oh,
to that?
yes. I feel like absolutely. I'm sure most women in business can relate to that. But to your other point, it's like if you do have those teams or those support systems, like that is a perfect opportunity for you to kind of take a step back and be like, what is their zone of genius, right? Because you know what yours is, or at least if you don't, like, that's a moment to take a minute and say, like, what's really lighting me up about why I got into this business in the first place? Because even though it is your baby, like there are people that can come in and support you and likely do something that maybe you don't enjoy even better than you could and keep your
Mhm.
business going and growing, right? Because
Yeah.
you can't, if you're doing all of the things, sometimes I feel like we end up spinning versus being able to take those steps forward.
Yeah. What advice do you have for people who, like me, are in a position where they're like, okay, I feel like I'm ready to bring on some help. I feel like
Mhm.
I'm ready to, in whatever capacity that is. Is there
Right.
some like mindset set shift that you can offer to us or some advice that you have for how we can begin to let go of some of that control?
Yeah. So I think there's a couple things you could do, right? Like, first of all, like do a little audit of yourself and your business. Maybe take a second. What are you doing in your day to day? Look at your calendar. What tasks are you doing that honestly you hate? Tasks that you're just like, oh, I have to get this done because I have to get this done, but you don't enjoy doing. And
Mm-hmm.
then the tasks that you love, that you're like, okay, I'm starting with this every single day. Meanwhile, like I know I should be doing these things over here, but I'm going to ignore those things, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
the tasks that you keep pushing off, chances are those are the ones you can definitely delegate. Like it's just, I know a lot of women that get just so caught up in like the smallest things, the admin side of it, right? Like spinning, living in an inbox or things like that. And that's, likely not where your time is meant to be spent because you enjoy doing these other things. So, yeah, I would say start by just kind of auditing, right? Where am I at? What am I doing every day that I can delegate and hand off to somebody else? And, where that control comes into play. If I'm concerned about bringing on somebody that might not be able to do this as well as I'm doing this, like, know that there are ways to lead and guide and create standard operating procedures or processes that are repeatable so that at least somebody's coming in and finding your style and making it authentic to you and your business.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think that's a good point too, because we want to, well, I say we, I want to
Yeah.
bring in someone from day one that's like, I get you, I know you,
Yep.
I know exactly what you want. I'm going to do it exactly how you want me to. Here we
Yep.
go.
Right.
Without me having to actually say anything.
Yeah. Oh, you want a mind reader. Yeah.
Yes, yes, exactly. So
Yeah.
keeping in mind that there is a learning curve that you do have
Totally.
to lead and teach and grow and give them a chance to adjust and
Yeah.
learn the way
Mhm.
that you want things done. It's just like
Yes.
bringing someone in to clean your house. It's like what may be obvious to you. It's like, yes, of course I want you to vacuum the couch. Like maybe that's not
Mm.
something that is part of their system. And so instead
Mhm.
of being like, I'm never bringing her back, she didn't vacuum the couch, saying,
Yep.
hey, next time you come, can you vacuum the couch?
You just hit on it. That's everything. Communication, over
Yeah,
communication, right? Like it might seem so obvious to you, but unless you take a second and you're communicating that, whose fault is it really if it's
right.
not happening? You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
that's why it starts with us, starts with you, starts with me. Over communicate and give them every opportunity to do the things that you want them to do in your business.
yeah. And I think sometimes that feels hard because we think that we are going to hurt their feelings or that they're
Mhm.
going to interpret it as like criticism. But I think
Mhm.
really, if we're bringing these people on to help us, they want to be able to help us, right? Whether it is the person that's cleaning your house or the person you're bringing on to do social media, like they want to know how you want it done because they
Right.
want to deliver it the way that you want it done. So as
Right.
long as you're a nice person about it, I
Right.
don't think it's going to be an issue. They're probably going to be happy for the communication.
Absolutely. And to your point, yes, delivery is important, Like you don't have to go in with like a sledgehammer, right? But yes, communicate everything. It's the same way that, as a business owner, you're providing a service, whether that's to a one-to-one client or whoever you're working with, like your communication is key for your customer base, for your clients. And it's going to be the same with your team,
Mm-hmm.
talk to somebody the same way that you would treat your customer, the same way you would want somebody to talk to you. Like you just, it's exactly what it boils down to,
Yeah.
give them the opportunity to shine for you.
Yeah.
Like they're coming in to help you. You're doing the same thing. You're providing a service as a business owner. You're supporting somebody or helping somebody in some way. Yeah, same
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. So, what about people who are listening who aren't in a space to bring in other people to help them? Maybe they're just getting started or they want to wait until they're making more consistent income or something like that. But
Right.
they also want to let go of some of this control so that they can go out and live their lives and spend time with their family and do things that are important to
Yeah.
them without that cloud of like, you should be working. What
Right.
advice do you have for them?
So my advice to them would be, okay, look at what are your money making activities. Like, what do you need to do in your day to day business to ensure that your income is coming in and that, you are moving comfortably forward in your business, right? You see so many things as a business owner, especially in the online space of like what you could be doing or what you should be doing, or women that have been in business for way more years than you, having this omnipresence when the reality is like you don't have to be all the things to all people. So just know what you need to do in your day to day, right? And start there and start then holding yourself accountable for a little bit more. I'm going to use the word balance. I know balance is, not the easiest thing to achieve, right? But give yourself more balance, give yourself more grace. So money making activities, get those down. What do I have to do for my clients? Get those down. And then really consider giving yourself that white space on the calendar so that you have the time, like you said, just show up in your personal life, whether that's doing things that you love that light you up outside of your business because you are more than your business, right?
Mhm.
Showing up as a parent, a friend, a partner, all the things. Maybe you haven't taken a class that you've been dying to take for a while. How do you create that white space and how do you create a life that you still love until you are in the place to be able to grow a team and bring on somebody that can help you do some of those either less fulfilling tasks or things that you need to do in order to scale and grow.
Yeah. Yeah. And knowing that by giving yourself that space away from your business, you're actually benefiting your business. We were just
Absolutely.
having this conversation the other day in my community, the Powerful Woman Rising community, about um, one of the members was saying, I sometimes am envious of the people that are in a space where they're like, I have to make money right now because she's not in that space. And so she feels like she's not as motivated as
Mm,
maybe she would be if she were
right?
in that space. And we were talking about the difference between taking action from a place of like, oh my gosh, I need money. I'm desperate.
Here.
Someone
Yeah.
needs to hire me right this second versus
Mm-hmm.
taking action from a place of like, who can I help? Who can I serve? What do I want to do?
Right.
What is going to be beneficial for people? And
Yep.
I think of that with this time away from your business too, is like you could work 12 hours a day. You could.
Mm-hmm.
And for a significant chunk of that, you're probably not going to be as effective or inspiring or fun or whatever it is that your clients are drawn to
Yep.
as you would be if you gave yourself a break.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you don't recharge or do the things that fill you up, like, what does that mean for how you're showing up in general, right? Like
Yeah.
what we were talking about in the beginning of the podcast, like chances are you're burned out or you're exhausted or you're not taking space to be you too. And that's going to impact how you are showing up. And yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's so good. So, why do you think we've talked a little bit about this in terms of like giving yourself that space to kind of reconnect with yourself and to avoid burnout? Are there other reasons that you can think of that are beneficial for us letting go of some of that control?
Yeah. I mean, like to your point, it's just, I know we're talking about burnout and like, mental health and all of these things kind of come into play, especially like if you are able to be a little bit more mindful, right, in your days and kind of like think about, what you're saying, how you're feeling, how that's impacting you personally and professionally. Like um it's all part of the picture. It's all part of who you are.
Yeah, I feel like I'm a lot nicer to myself when I
Yes.
let go of that control.
Yes, and
Uh-huh.
and you should be, right? Like, I
Uh-huh.
don't know, somewhere along the lines, like, why did we start being so critical or hard on ourselves?
Yeah.
Because
It's not
we
motivating.
shouldn't be.
No,
No,
and we wouldn't
no.
try to motivate anyone else that way.
Right. Yeah, no, your best friend comes to you with a problem, you wouldn't be like, "Oh, yeah, girl, right, you
Yeah.
suck." Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's like, absolutely
Maybe if
not.
you weren't such an idiot, this would be
Yeah,
going better for you.
right. Yeah, no, it's just we gotta practice, that same grace that we would give to anybody else. I mean, I hope you're giving that grace to other people,
Yeah.
right? Like,
I
give
wouldn't
it
have
to
many
yourself
friends if I
too.
wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just did a recent interview with a coach by the name of Laura Johnson about mom guilt and your relationship with mom guilt. And I keep
Mhm.
flashing back on our conversation too when you and I are having this conversation, because I think that's such a huge part of it too. Like when you're giving yourself, when you're able to let go of some of that control and give yourself that space and that grace, it not only, I think, makes you better in business, but it makes you a better mom, makes you a better wife, makes you a better daughter, whatever space you're filling, because you have more, I don't know, you have more space for that role. You have more patience and love and grace because you're not all used up.
Oh, well, yeah, that's exactly it, right? Like if you're just absolutely worn, you can't be anything to anybody else, let alone yourself, right? Like,
Yeah.
and the thing is, I feel like a lot of times we learn this the hard way. Like it's almost like it has to hit us in the face or you're going through it in order to take a step back and kind of realize like, oh man, like, okay, yeah, like I'm so short right now with my kids, or oh my God, I'm gonna like bite my partner's head off for like loading
Mhm.
the dishwasher the wrong way, right? And it's just like, well, yeah, because you're tired and you're run down. And what was the last time you did something for yourself or took a minute to rest?
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
they're needed. You're at the end of the day, you're a person and you're human and your needs have to be met. Like I feel like everyone, it's like very cliche to say, but like self-care is not selfish, right? Like that is the
Mhm.
best gift you can give yourself because that's how you are going to show up at your best. Like
Yeah.
take care of yourself first, look at yourself first and figure out like what do I need and how do I pivot from here?
Yeah. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be something huge. It doesn't have to be that you take the whole day off to go to the spa. It could just
Right.
be like, for me, sometimes it's I stop working 20 minutes earlier than I was planning so that I can go and take a bath or,
Yeah,
walk the dog or
absolutely.
whatever it is.
Yes. Yep. I was just going to say the same thing. Take that 20-minute walk with the dog that you are just putting off so you can get outside, get some sunlight. Yeah, it could be anything.
Yeah.
And girl, if you want to take a whole day and go to the spa, like call me and I support that.
Yeah. Do that too. There's a time and a
Yeah,
place for
totally.
sure. This is awesome. So, if anybody else wants to stalk you on Instagram like I did,
Sure.
or if they want to just connect with you and learn more about what you do, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah. So my website's a little under construction, but it's KristenNeedle.com. You can stalk me on Instagram at Kristen Needle OBM. I'm usually on Instagram or Facebook, but for the most part, Instagram is a great way to kind of get in touch with me.
Awesome. I will put both those links in the show notes and we will look forward to seeing what evolves on your website. And in the
Perfect.
meantime, we'll follow you on Instagram.
Sounds great. Thank you so much. This was so much fun.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Your Relationship With podcast. Want to come hang out with me and Kristen and a whole bunch of other amazing female entrepreneurs, make some genuine connections, find some new opportunities in your business, and have lots of fun? I am hosting another virtual speed networking event for women who network like humans, not like weirdos. Join me by clicking the link in the show notes and come hang out with us. It's totally free and it's so worth your time. You're going to love it so much. Also, if you love this podcast, forward it to another control freak in your life in the most loving way possible and tell them, I want you to listen to this. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review so that more women just like you can find this podcast. Have a great day.